Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 5 Off 5 On Racing Show live from New York. Wow. This past weekend, it looked like up here in the Northeast, the only races were won by Mother Nature as rain wreaked havoc with racing all over the Northeast, actually up and down the East Coast from North Carolina right up to New Hampshire. And, I want to talk about rainouts and when to call a show, when not to call a show, who makes that ultimate decision, even the whys and the why nots. I know in social media right here in Long Island, Riverhead Raceway, they called their show the night before based on impending inclement weather. And people were up in arms over that. People were like on social media complaining, why this? And then all morning, oh, it's sunny here, it's nice here, it's only cloudy. And, people have to look at, like, the radar. They need to look at weather forecasts. They need to look at what the plan is. And when it's 100% chance of rain at 4 p.m. and your show is starting at 4:30, you don't even make the attempt. And my hat's off to promoters who have the guts to make a call like that. Because as a former team owner, as a former driver, there's nothing worse than filling up your truck, your haul, or whatever you get there, and driving 40, 50, even maybe 100 miles to a racetrack to be rained out. Years ago, you'd call, and I was in the office for this. The phone would ring. Yeah, we're running. Then people drive all the way out there, and they have no choice but to call a show because the rain isn't stopping. And a lot of these weekly tracks all along the North America, they don't have jet dryers. They don't have the sophisticated equipment that the Sprint Cup Series has, where they blow the air, high pressure air, roll onto the racetrack, pushing the water to the side. No, they have to drag tires, put cars on the track, do lap after lap after lap. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the people sitting in the rain that paid good money to witness this event. They didn't go to watch you to dry the track. They went to watch racing. So when a promoter decides, based on a weather forecast, to pull the plug, I got to respect that. I have to respect that. Remember, the owner or promoter doesn't want to open their racetrack, bring everybody in, collect all the pit fees, open the front gate, get all the ticket people in, have them sit down, and you don't run. It becomes a logistical nightmare with getting pit fees back and getting rain checks. Think about it, when you're in a division that doesn't run every week, maybe you run every other week, maybe you run a week and you're off 2, and they announce, okay, we're going to pull the plug and your pit pass is good next week. Well, my car's not running next week, so what do we do now? We have to come anyway? I'm not racing. So to make that decision, and again, I'm going to say it again, my hat's off to a promoter who's willing to roll that dice and say, you know what, the forecast says 100% chance of rain or 90 or 80 or whatever it is. God bless them. That's a gutsy call. And you got to remember, a lot of these tracks only operate maybe 20, 22, 25 weeks out of the season. And when you have a rain out, think about it. We'll go with an average racetrack that holds 3,000 people. So you have 3,000 people paying, let's say, $20 a piece. So that's $60,000 that you're not making that week. Now you have 1,000 people in your pit area with 5, 6, 7 divisions at, let's say, $40 a head in the pit. That's another $40,000. So by not having a race, that promoter or that track operator lost $100,000 by not opening. Think if he opened and nobody came to see the show, They still got to pay their insurance. They still got to pay their salaries. They still got to pay the light bill. They still got to pay out the purse. So in addition to that 100 that they and the possibility of losing on a rain out, because not all the cars are coming and not all the people are going to come, they're losing more money. And you know what? If a track operator keeps losing money week after week, that track might not be there next year. I don't wish that on any racetrack. Believe me, I've seen in my lifetime a lot of racetracks close, and you know, it's not a pretty sight. It's not a pretty sight. You know, and in my lifetime, you know, West Hampton is closed right here on Long Island, and we also lost ISUP. We lost Freeport, and if you talk to Marty Himes, he could talk for an hour on all the racetracks. I can remember when I first started getting involved with racing in the mid-'70s, and the late Big Bob O'Rourke talking about the old days, and he said, years ago, you could race 7 nights a week and not leave Long Island. You can't do that now. There's one place left. And you know, I'm gonna say it again, don't bash the place on social media because you have nothing else to do that night. Because God forbid you sat and spend some time with your family. Just saying, you know? I mean, if your life is that involved that you live and die to go to a racetrack on Saturday, and because it rains, and you're going to sit and pout and bash the place on social media, you're wrong and you're not right. And I don't mean to put anybody down. Hey, look, I look forward to going to races too. Don't get me wrong. And if it's a rain out, all right, plan B. Go to plan B. All right, well, let's see what movie's playing. Oh, let's go go-kart racing, indoor go-karts. Oh, maybe we'll go bowling. Something. Maybe we'll watch a movie at home. Get some popcorn, you know, maybe slam down a couple of beers, maybe a Jameson, something, you know, enjoy the evening. You know, life is too short to complain about something as silly as a promoter called a racetrack caused a rain. And you know, and you look at all over, and I said that in one of the posts in social media. I said, this is like 9 o'clock in the morning, and people will complain, I can't believe it's sunny here, it's not raining. I said, racetracks in 5 states called the show today, including what they went on in Charlotte, and we'll talk about that later, because of the impending weather. A storm was coming. And people just didn't get it. And you know, please think about the team that's coming from who knows where. You know, we have teams on Long Island that come from Queens. You know, for those of you who live in the other parts of the country, you're talking a 100-mile one-way trip. You know, from Queens. People who maybe come from down in Connecticut, whether they drive around or take the ferry. That's an expensive trip to just turn around and go home. So again, my hat's off to the decision makers who pulled the plug a day early. And it gave teams an opportunity. Hey, you know what? It's not going to rain in this place, so let's take the trip, if that's what they want to do. Like a couple of weeks ago when it got rained out, and some of the guys went up, the legend guys went up to Bethel. Some of the guys went to Wall because they ran. So again, my hat's off. It's a shame that the weather is winning all the races this year. It's a shame. But you know what? We're going to get some good solid racing in. I just hope when they do get back on the racetrack, these guys aren't all going to try to win on lap 1. You know, they're going to be a little rusty. They're going to be a little anxious. And I don't want to see torn up equipment because that just becomes costly, very costly. And you got to do what you got to do sometimes. Well, anyway, so I want to welcome everybody. I see we got the regular crowd is shuffling in here, so thank you. But this rain thing, you know, and think about this. I mean, I guess I'm going to beat this dead horse. You know, as a race fan, when do you want to find out that it's canceled? After you drove all the way there? If you could know the night before or early that morning, isn't that a better deal? I'm just, you know, maybe it's me. You know, maybe it's me. I don't know. I got to sit and relax. I had planned on going out to the Long Island Racetrack, Riverhead. I planned on going out there. And, you know, unfortunately, it rained out. You know, I did something else. I actually helped my daughter get settled and moved, and I want to wish my daughter Jessica well in her new little apartment. It's a first for her, so I want to wish her well. So I was, you know, I got mixed emotions sitting there and doing stuff that people didn't think I knew how to do. But, when it's for your kid, you got to do what you got to do. But we got it all settled, and I came back from work today, and a lot of our stuff was gone. I was like, wow, stuff that we didn't bring over the weekend. But anyway, good luck to my daughter, former blunderbuss and figure eight driver at Long Island's Riverhead Raceway. Actually, most popular driver 1 year as well. And rookie runner-up of the year in two divisions, the figure eights and blunderbuss. So anyway, it's all good. It's all good. Hopefully the weather holds up this weekend. Memorial Day weekend, there's a lot of racing going on, not only in your weekly short tracks, but we got the Indianapolis 500. We'll talk briefly about that. And we have the World 600 out of Charlotte. And a lot of racing. This kind of kicks off the racing year, these big races that are going to be happening. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the stuff that went on in NASCAR, some of the penalties from Dover that were announced on Tuesday, and some other things that have been going on in the world of NASCAR when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scared No Fair, and we're here with Inravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Welcome back. All right. Dover. It's a week ago, but a lot of people don't know that on Tuesdays, NASCAR has what they call a competition meeting. They talk about what on the previous week in the top series, which would be the Sprint Cup Series, the Campbell World Truck Series, and the Xfinity Series. And they talk about some of the things and what penalties are going to be given out and things of that nature. They also discuss what's going on in the weekly tracks, if there's any penalties, if a head official, a race director, chief steward, whatever they're called at some racetracks, makes a call to the competition director and, hey, listen, Gagos Paisano wrecked this guy on purpose at the end and had a fight, and this is what we're going to do. And the competition committee could say, you know, the penalty's not stiff enough, it's too stiff, let's do it this way. But every Tuesday, that's what they do. I actually sat in on a couple of those meetings over the past, back in the past, I should say. And it's very interesting because the powers to be that are at this meeting and the powers to be are at this meeting, they try to be as fair as possible. not only to the competitor, but to the official as well that's making that call, again, whether it's the top level or it's a weekly level. And what they try to do is, they don't want to throw the official that made the report under the bus, but they also don't want to put this driver or owner or crew chief or whoever in a situation where, especially in the weekly level, where they might not come back. Because you need these cars. The weekly tracks need the cars. A lot of people think that NASCAR, the big boys, don't care about the weekly tracks, but they do. And it's more than the money. It's more than the sanction fees that they get every week. They need these feeder tracks because then they branch out to other divisions. More so, I think, in the South and the Northwest than here in the East. Years ago, when guys that raced on Long Island were racing 3 racetracks, and they were just happy staying in their little world, in their little bubble here on Long Island. And as time evolved and tracks started to close, guys wanted a place to go race because they built their cars to go racing. They didn't build their cars to race every other week or every third week or whatever. They built their cars to race, and back then it was more affordable, and dollars to expense were a little closer than it is to now. Guys can make a living racing back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, where you need a second job or a pretty darn good sponsor to go racing today. But anyway, penalties from Dover were announced last Tuesday. Casey Kane, he failed post-race inspection after that event. Kane's crew chief was fined $25,000, plus the team was docked 15 owner points, and the driver was also docked 15 points as well. Hendrick Motorsports will not appeal the decision, as they had an issue with the right side truck arms. Truck arms are attached to the rear, and they're bolted right behind the seat on the frame. It kind of lets the rear go up and down like this, so to speak. And they're not going to appeal it. The arm was bent. In NASCAR's opinion, the arm was bent on purpose. Hendrick Motorsports claims it was bent at some point during the race. Nobody will ever know. Nobody will know. Did it really happen in the race? Possibly. Especially like a track like Dover, it is some beating and banging, and it could have bent. But, the rules are pretty clear on where that truck arm has to be mounted, how it has to be mounted, and the angle of it as well. So when you go through post-race inspection and it's not right, NASCAR is going to penalize you. Now, 15 points, that's a lot of points with this new point system that they've had the last few years. That's a lot of points. All right, so that's tough. And for Hendrick not to appeal it, I should say, that tells me that was something that they tried to do and they got caught. Because if they really felt it was bent in the race, I'm thinking they would have went to video, they would have went to an appeals, and they went to the second appeal, and then they would have showed video. This is when it could have got bent. But you know what? The officials are paid to do their job, and they're paid to look at stuff like that. And no official sees a car running through the post-race or pre-race tech and says, I'm going to get that guy. Well, most don't say that. That's going to be a whole different show. They don't want to, you don't want to take a race away from a team. And, on the higher level, the Sprint Cup, Xfinity, and Camp World Truck Series, one of the things that Big Bill France said years and years and years ago, that this post-race thing, if they fail tech, by the time they go through tech, most of the fans are gone home. So Bill France says, when the fans leave my racetrack, they're going to know who won the race. We may take the money away, we may take the points away, but they're still going to be the winner. And in this case, they didn't take the spot away. They fined them money, $25,000 to the crew chief, and points, 15 owner points and 15 driver points. And that's how it works. Sometimes, you go to the weekly racetracks and a team or a driver is found to be illegal. Right away, it's no points, no money. You're last, you're done. You're handicapped as a win for the tracks to still use handicapping. I never liked that. I really never liked that. And I always felt that if you have a flagrant violation in a weekly racing series, a flagrant violation, an illegal motor, an illegal rear, something that's a big competitive advantage, yeah, you're going to keep the win, Gagos Paisano, but you know what? Whatever the points paid for first place, you're not going to get, so you got 0 points. And whatever first place paid, I wanted to fine them. That's what the fine should have been. Of course, now the second place guys, might be upset because, oh, wait, I should have won, but because that's the way it always was, the old paradigm. But I really feel that way. I really feel that way. That's how it should be on the weekly racing series as well. So, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And 22 figure eight welcome. He said years ago, going back to what we were talking about earlier, years ago when Long Island had the tracks, the big dollars weren't down south yet. So it didn't pay to move down there. And he's absolutely correct. Plus, as a northerner, you weren't really too welcome. They didn't want northerners down there. And I look at some of the series, that northerners tried to infiltrate, and they had a rough time in the beginning. And the Bodines, when they went down south, they took their lumps in the beginning. Earnhardt used to bounce off the Bodine car all the time. In fact, in that movie Days of Thunder, starring Tom Cruise, that scene where Tom Cruise and the other guy, which his name escapes me right now, they were called into the NASCAR office and they were told to knock it off and blah, 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 and then they're going to have a luncheon, and they rented 2 cars and they beat and banged on the way to the place. That really happened. Ed Cox, the former NASCAR Whelen Tour Series director, had told me that story. That he was a technical advisor for the movie, and in the credits it just says technical advisor NASCAR. And he said that was in there. That really happened. And they stopped after that, and they became, racing buddies. But those are the things that happen. Those are the things that happen. And the big money, like 22 Figure Eight says, the big money wasn't down there yet. And the Long Islanders stayed on Long Island, and if they tried to go to the modified tour back when it was the modified tour in the mid '80s, there was the Wrong Island Gang, as the Jersey officiating team called them, and they really didn't stand a chance. They did not really stand a chance, and the late Tom Baldwin was one of the first to battle them and be successful. And before you know it, you have Wayne Anderson going down winning championships, and all of a sudden it was a whole different outlook. Wayne Anderson up here from Long Island raced at Islip and Riverhead. And when you go back to that, and then all of a sudden you have a couple of wise guys from Long Island go up there. They're big fish in a little pond at their local track, but they got on the tour and it was a whole different story, a whole different story. And back to Long Island they won, but now that the tour is about a third of the drivers come out of Long Island. And that's a testament to a lot of things. One, that if you could race Riverhead, you could race anywhere, and I believe that. And it's a little fairer now on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. You don't have that Jersey group, controlling who could race and who couldn't. As long as you have your open wheel experience and you have the money, you can go Modified Tour racing. It doesn't matter what other kind of experience you have, but you have to have open wheel experience. So we'll talk about that again at a later show. Yes. Charlotte. I don't know if anybody watched the All-Star race from Charlotte, North Carolina this past weekend. I know I did. And some of the things that I observed was it seemed like not only were the teams confused, but the officials were confused as well. And they made up these rules before. What's wrong with just go race? Now, the one thing that perplexed me, and maybe it's me, is that qualifying for the event was rained out. So what did they do? They went to owner's points. Now, this is an exhibition race. There are no points involved. At that point, it should have been maybe pick out of a hat. Okay, let's pick out of a hat, like in the old days. It was a no points exhibition race, pretty much. And, why are you going back to owner points? Most of the guys that were in the event, won races and were the last year up to this year or champions. So you're going to go to owner's points. Now, I don't know. I don't think that was the way to do it. And there were even penalties given out. Guys like Tony Stewart, how did he end up a lap down? Nobody could explain to him how he ended up a lap down. He followed the rules that they set forward for him. He ends up a lap down, which kind of messed him up a little bit, and it got him caught up in a wreck, because maybe if he was where he should have been, he wouldn't have been caught up in that wreck. And even, with the pitting rule. Now, you go and, you're on the yellow, I don't know. There was just a lot of things that went on. And And, Tony Stewart is a very vocal guy, and I'm sure there's going to be some discussion. But then again, NASCAR went on publicly today and said that there was some mistakes made. So maybe they're going to listen to the drivers this time. Maybe they're going to say, you know what, guys, you were right. All right, we messed this one up. You can't sit back and say, no, we're not. We never make a mistake. And I want to share a little story with you. Back, I'm going to say around 2000, 2001. It was one of those nights at Riverhead. One of those nights, and I was just not having a good night. I was getting beat up by everybody, from the teams, from the crew chiefs. Even the promoters were calling me up every couple of laps, telling me to change things, and you just can't do that. But anyway, I thought the dust had settled, because there was a line outside my trailer. There was a line. Everybody came in, they spoke their piece, and you just sit back like this, you go. Because you can't change it. It happened. It's done. It happened. All right, let's line everybody back up. Let's go back to lap 17 and let's start over. No, you can't do that. So based on what I saw, I make a decision. Well, this one night I made a call against Bill Park. And after the line was done, there was no Bill Park. Bill Park, a champion modified driver on Long Island, won a lot of races in his lifetime. I have a lot of respect for Bill Park as a race car driver. And I messed up. I blew the call. All of a sudden, one of my guys brings in ice cream. I'm sitting there. I'm eating my ice cream. The door comes flying open, and it's Bill Park. I look up. Yeah, Bill, what's up? He says, you blew it tonight. And he starts ranting and raving. I took another spoon of my ice cream. Bill Park, you're absolutely 100% correct. I did blow it. I'll give you a gray one down the road. So you blew it. Yes, I did. Another sip of my ice cream. He goes, all right, see you next week. There was nothing I could say. I blew it. And the red phone, 22V, you have no idea. And you're not going to get them all right. You're not going to. And I know I've said this a dozen times. I used to bring drivers up on the ramp with me, stand next to me, and something would happen right in front of us. What happened? Oh, I don't know. I was looking over there. I didn't see it. And I said, so remember that call I made against you? And I said, I didn't see it. You screamed at me. How could you not see it? And it's only a quarter-mile racetrack. And I had one guy standing on the opposite end of the track in turn 2, tell me what's going on up there. So he's not seeing what's in 3. Sometimes you just don't see it. It just, happens. So, it's tough. And sometimes you gotta make those tough decisions, those tough calls. And you know what you do? You learn from that. All right, listen, we blew that one. Like NASCAR's in, hey, look, we need to do something different in the next race. And we really do need to do something next race. And I'm surprised that was the stance they took. I'm pleased, not that anybody cares if Joe's pleased, but I'm pleased that they did that. They you know what? Yeah, we messed up. And there's a lot of upset people. There's all upset down, in Charlotte in the Sprint Cup Series. Upset drivers, upset owners, upset crew chiefs, and even upset fans who went there and were like, what is going on? We're going to talk more about this in the second half, but we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what went on at Bethel Motor Speedway, who rolled the dice and tried to make it happen. We'll talk about what did happen when we come back.
Inravio.com wants you. Inravio provides the best in TV, film, post-production, and so much more. And we're growing. Right now, we're looking for a team of pros that can join us. So what are you waiting for? We need show hosts, production crew, marketing gurus, sales experts, audio engineers, lighting, visual effects, and camera crews. We want you. Go to Inravio.com/join the team.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Willett. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com. For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Yeah, 22 figure eight. I think it's quiet because everybody's just sitting back listening to what I have to say, and nobody has any comments, you know? So, thank you. But anyway, well, yes. Bethel Motor Speedway, located upstate New York. I communicated with Tracy Tarico, the business operations manager, either early Saturday or late Friday, talking about what's going on with the weather and even what's going to happen Saturday, and trying to get convinced her, hey, you're not running this week because of the rain. Why don't you come down and do the show? And she goes, no, we're running. Well, they tried, and they gave it the old college try, and I got to respect them for that. Whereas, like I said, tracks in 5 states called it because of the weather. So they got one event in, albeit a shortened event. Tyler Dockenhausen took an early lead on the third lap of the rain-shortened Bandolero event on Saturday night at Bethel Motor Speedway, and Sean Verais fought hard almost the entire race to take the lead away from Tyler, but always came up a few inches short and finished second. Mike Roth finished third, Eugene Storm drew fourth, and Joey Ongst took the 5th place spot in a rain-shortened event at Bethel Motor Speedway. And it's one of those things, all those guys showed up and gals showed up to race, and it just, didn't happen because of the weather. And you know what happens when you have bad weather? People don't come. Yeah, you'll have the diehards that are sitting in the stands, but people are going to say, look out the window. Oh, it's raining. I'm not going. But they tried to make it happen, and my hat's off for them for trying to do that as well. So what are you going to do? Oh, yes, the rumor mill. As everybody knows, the rumor mill it was pretty hot in the last few weeks in regards to Kevin Harvick, that Kevin Harvick was leaving Stewart-Haas Racing and going elsewhere. Well, Stewart-Haas Racing announced last week it has signed Kevin Harvick to a long-term contract, a new extension for him. Harvick, who is 40, is in his 3rd year with Stewart-Haas Racing. Harvick won the 2014 Sprint Cup Series championship in his 1st year with Stewart-Haas Racing. Harvick's looking to win another one, and as well as many, many races. And with Tony Stewart, this being his last season, Kevin Harvick will be the patriarch of Stewart-Haas Racing. And I'm glad that came to an end, because the rumor mill had him driving all over the place. He's retiring, he's driving for this one, driving for that one. He's staying still, and he's got a long-term deal. And I wouldn't be surprised if when he is done racing, he's still going to stay on at Stewart-Haas Racing in another function. Trust me when I say that. The Xfinity Series was at Charlotte this past Saturday, and they're going to be at Charlotte this Saturday. But last Saturday, the Campbell World Truck Series ran. Matt Crafton was the winner, followed by Kyle Busch with Johnny Sauter 3rd. Tyler Reddick was 4th. Matt Tifft was 5th. Spencer Gallagher 6th. Timothy Peters 7th. Christopher Bell 8th. Daniel Hemrick, an old modified guy, young kid, is 9th. And William Byron finished 10th from the pole, the winner a couple of weeks ago. So they got their event in, and nobody else was able to really do anything there because of the weather. Now, What went on here? Now, let's see. The Valenti Modified Series was at Stafford Motor Speedway, and they got it in as Rowan Pennick took home 2 victories this weekend from Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut. Rowan won the 40-lap SK Modified event, plus the 80-lap Valenti Modified Racing Series as well. Rowan Pennick, the 2014 Valenti Modified Series champion. Always a threat to win no matter what he drives, whether it's a touring modified in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour or the Valenti Modified Series or an SK. So Rowan Pennick having a strong start to the 2016 season. The NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour will be at Stafford Motor Speedway on June 2nd. The NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour is headed to Caraway July 1st, and we talked about why they have such a break in their between races. The K&M Pro Series East will be at the Downing Raceway, and they will be there May 30th, this upcoming weekend. And I'm sorry, the weekend after next. And the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West will be at Chicago National Speedway June 11th, another series that has big breaks in between each race. So like I said earlier, oh no, we're going to go to the Indy. Qualifying for this weekend's Indy 500 was conducted this past weekend. James Hinchcliffe won the pole for the 100th annual Indianapolis 500 event. This was Hinchcliffe's first Indy 500 pole. And with a pole speed of 230.760 miles per hour, that's motoring. That's fast. Joseph Newgarden will be starting the race second, and Ryan Hunter-Ray will start third. All right, the Sprint Cup Series, the All-Star Race from Charlotte. Like we spoke earlier, it was a confusing event, very confusing. And what happens, and it's funny, I see things out of the corner of my eye, and they're saying that, with that little rumor mill with Harvick, it might help bring some sponsor dollars, and that's probably what it was all about. Sometimes you have these self-inflicted rumors, you start them yourself, But, as Tony Stewart and his crew are announcing this Harvick deal, at the end of the race, after Tony Stewart, actually not even at the end of the race, when Tony Stewart was exiting the cash center, he voiced his opinion after his wreck. And I'm going to quote Tony. He said, "It's the most screwed up all-star race I've ever been a part of. Glad this is my last one. I'm madder than hell, and I'm mad because I don't know how they officiated this whole thing from start to finish." He was upset. And he went on and on and on. Now, NASCAR announced today that they understand that the frustrations, and maybe tomorrow they'll think differently when they have their little meeting, and somebody's going to say, no, we violated, 12-4A and detrimental words. Who knows? But there was a lot of other people that were upset. But Tony was the most vocal. And Tony Stewart was never one to keep quiet. Now, I knew Tony Stewart, and when he ran a couple of modified tour races in New Hampshire way back when, he had to miss a driver's meeting. So I had to get with him one-on-one and go over the driver's meeting with him. And the intensity in his face as we were talking, he was like, and I didn't know if he was like just listening to me and absorbing everything or saying to himself, when's this guy going to show up? I have stuff to do. And when I was done with the meeting, I said, any questions? He went, no, sir. And my girls, they were little, they were standing there. And he went up to them like he knew them, and he was a whole different guy. But Tony Stewart, he doesn't take any nonsense. He tells it like it is. And you know what? That's what's missing from the sport. Guys like Tony Stewart who tell it like it is. Like years ago, Junior Johnson, even though in his soft southern drawl, told it like it was. The late Dale Earnhardt, NASCAR listened to him. He could go up to Bill France Jr. and say, tell it like it is. You go back to those days, and that's what's missing today. And if they just want wooden little soldiers and to just not say a word, just go out, race their cars, whatever will be, would it be. If that's what they want, that's going to hurt the sport. The sport's missing characters. The sport is missing the rivalries. The sport is missing, who could ever forget, Earnhardt, Labonte, Earnhardt, Wallace, Petty, Pearson, bumping and banging. The Yarbroughs, the stuff that they did on the racetrack, made headlines. Those guys would have been fined so much money that they would have had to take a loan down from the bank to pay it if those things happened today. That's what's missing. That's why the ratings are down on TV, and that's why a lot of people aren't watching the races. And you could go to the World 600 website, go to Charlotte's website, and try to get a ticket for Monday. You're going to be hard pressed. But when you watch for Sunday, when you watch that race on TV, there's going to be a lot of empty seats. And you know why that happens? Some of it because the people just can't afford to go. They can't get the time off because you have to buy your tickets a year in advance. They can't get into a hotel room that they can afford. And the other problem is scalpers are standing outside the racetrack, in the streets, in the gas stations, in the fast food, with a stack of tickets. Who needs tickets? Who needs tickets? I got them on, because they're buying them up left and right, and they can't get rid of them. So they're sold on the website, but the seats are empty. So that's what's going on there. But and the segue into that is now Sprint. Sprint is done. They're not coming back. 2016 is their last year. 13 years as a title sponsor, including the 2 or 3 years with Nextel. And then they had the merger, and it's them. The longest running Sprint Cup Series sponsor, longer than Winston. They're pulling out. There were rumors that it was happening last year. Oh, in the off season, it was mentioned. A press release went out. We're done. And it's funny that this has happened, because when I watched the race this weekend, they were having all these Sprint announcers were talking about their Sprint phones. Michael Waltrip's getting out his Sprint phone, and he's calling people, and he's looking up stats. They were all talking about Sprint. I think it's too much, too little, too late, because it's done. It's done. Now the problem is, you would have thought, because the Camping World Truck Series got Camping World to re-up for a bunch of years. The Xfinity Series came on board after Nationwide pulled out. They're having trouble selling this series. Why? Why? I could tell you why as a marketing guy, because there's no return on this big dollar investment long term that they have to make. They have to see return on that. All right, yeah, let's say, I don't know, I'm Pepsi. and I'm only saying Pepsi because I drink Pepsi. And Pepsi's going to come in and be the title sponsor. Now, Pepsi, how much more Pepsi can they sell to offset what it's going to cost them? How much TV time, because it's called the Pepsi Cup or the Coca-Cola Cup or whatever cup they want to call it, what kind of return they're going to get on that? Do they want to have, like it was mentioned once by NASCAR, maybe we'll split it up with 4 title companies. So what is it, like the first 9 races will be Acme Company, the second 9 races will be the, M Company, and then you got the W Company for the third 9 races, and then the last 9 races are going to be by Zebra Company. That's the most ridiculous. What's the trophy going to say? So you say Sprint Cup, you say Winston Cup. What's it going to say? The Fortune 500 Top 4 Cup? There's a lot that goes into this, There's a lot that goes into this. And to not have a title sponsor, at least in the works, and maybe there is in the works, and they're just not telling us they're going to wait till it's all over, and the last race is going to happen, and this is the last Sprint Cup Series champion, and it's so-and-so, and then tomorrow it'll be a headline, XYZ Corporation has signed on to be the title sponsor. I hope that's what's going to happen. I really do. Maybe it isn't. Who knows? Who knows? But I hope they find somebody, and I hope they find somebody soon, because they really do need to shore that up. 22 figure 8. Stanley Tools. They could be the next sponsor of the Stanley Cup Series. I just hope it's not Coca-Cola. Not that I have anything against Coca-Cola, but the Coke Cup does not sound good. Just saying. Just putting that out there. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and we come back. We'll have the results from the All-Star race at Charlotte Motor Speedway when we come back.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
What's up, guys? We're Scano Fair, and we're here with Inravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
Hey, this is Christmas Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Hey, welcome back. Hey, before we give the results of the World 600, I just want to take a shout out to Mark Ducky Miller, who is a big part of Project Modified, restoring an old Modified that we're going to be racing some of the nostalgia events this upcoming season. I know we kind of fell short last year, but it's going to happen this year. In fact, we have some pictures of some of the progress that we have going on with that as we speak. I think they're bringing them now. The car has been stripped down and going over it, and that's an old 82 Troy car. And we're going to try to make it look the way it looked then. So sanded it down, body panels, and a big help from Steve Maynard, who was doing the motor for us. Steve Maynard builds a couple of the motors here on Long Island, in fact, a few of the motors here on Long Island, and be helping us out. So the car needs a lot of work, but with this crew, with Ducky Miller, Steve Maynard, Kevin Basic, and myself, we feel confident that we can make this happen. And if you want to be a part of it, just let me know. Let myself or Kevin Basic know, and you can be a part of this as well. The back panel of the race car will be dedicated to people who've helped out, whether you helped out with parts, equipment, time, whatever. So we're making progress, so if you guys are interested in helping out, just let me know. Anyway, the Sprint All-Star Race from Charlotte. Joey Logano wins, takes home the $1 million. Brad Keselowski, second. Dale Jr., third. Carl Edwards was fourth. Kurt Busch was fifth. Chase Elliott, sixth. Trevor Baynes, seventh. Greg Biffle was eighth. Denny Hamlin, ninth. And Kyle Busch rounded out the top 10. Again, it was not good. Not good. It was so confusing. Crew chiefs were yelling and screaming, and with officials, and drivers didn't know what to do, and it was just a whole big thing, and it just wasn't a good event. They took something that was good, and yes, I'm going to say this, they ruined it. And I understand, sometimes you got to take something and you try to improve on it, you try to make it better. And then I'm going to say this. Sometimes when you have non-racing people get involved with a racing event, it doesn't come out right. It would be like making somebody a crew chief who never worked on a car. It'd be like making somebody an official who never was involved with a race team. and some of the officials that I see walking around, and I'm going to say this, there was an official, my last year on the NASCAR Winter Modified Tour, who came on board, nice guy, I'm not going to say, who, nice guy, and, I'm talking to him when, he's going around helping me do stuff, and I said to him, so what experience do you have? What track or team did you work with? And, how long have you been an official? And he goes, well, I'm not. I went online and I saw the opening, so I sent in my stuff online and they hired me. So you have no racing experience? He goes, no. And you're an official, you're a tech official. Yeah. I said, are you a little nervous, like if a team asks you a question, and he goes, well, yeah, that's why they have me following you around. I said, well, don't follow me around. I don't have all the answers either. But I can't believe this. I mean, good for you. They're paying you to do this. This is great. And I'm sure you'll learn along the way. And everybody here, we all have a little bit of expertise. We'll help you out. And he goes, well, I'm going to be honest. I'm really, really nervous. I said, don't worry, you'll be fine. He goes, no. He goes, if you turned one of these cars upside down, I couldn't tell you the front from the back. Now, me being the quiet, withdrawn guy that I am, I went right to the series director. And I said, are you kidding? You're kidding, right? And I'm not going to say what they had this individual do because then it'll give away who it is, and I don't want to put anybody down like that. But the job they had this individual do had nothing to do with technical inspections, pre-race, post-race, or any part. And this is what's happening. These kids from college who might be engineers or whatever and have engineering degrees or marketing degrees even are coming on board, and it's not good. The late Walt Edsel, chief steward at ISOP, chief steward at Riverhead Raceway before his untimely death, somebody came in, and actually it was two guys that came in and wanted to be officials. One being Mike Gravelbuxer, and one being, doesn't matter who it was. And we met with them individually, and out they went. Well, it says, all right, we're going to take gravel. We'll have them do the demos and maybe the blunderbuss or something. We'll work with them. And we needed two guys, or two people. So what about the other guy? And Walt Desel says to me, did you look at his fingernails? I said, no. He goes, there's no grease under his fingernails. This guy never even touched a race car. We can't make him an official. And he was right. He was right. You had to drive them, you had to build them, you had to own them, something. You have to have some kind of knowledge. Yeah, there's some knowledgeable guys that are driving race cars, and when they hang up their helmet, they give them an official shirt, and they do a pretty darn good job. Some guys, they get out of racing, whether they can't afford it anymore, or their health precludes them from racing, and they want to become an official because they think they're going to take care of their buddies. And if you don't think that happens, especially on the weekly racing series, you're sadly mistaken. Because a lot of that goes on. And I'll tell you what, and don't think it doesn't go on the higher levels as well. It's just things are done a little differently there. And, it's not easy. It's not easy. And this is where the sport's headed. The sport's headed to this cookie cutter phase, not only with the equipment, with the cars, whether it's a truck, a Sprint Cup Series car, Xfinity, they all look exactly like. Take the decals off them, and you couldn't tell who's who. You could go back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and you could say, that's Richard Petty's car. That's David Pearson's car. That's Donnie Allison's car. That's Cale Yarborough's car. That's Junior Johnson's car. There's DW, Darrell Waltrip's car. You can't do that today. The cars look exactly the same. Same thing with the modifieds. Who couldn't pick out Charlie Jazam's car if they rolled into a racetrack in primer gray? That's CJ's car. That's Richie Evans' car. Because they were modifieds. You modified stuff to fit your needs, to make it your way. And then what happened was it became a touring series and it became hard to tech. So they became cookie cutters. They all look exactly alike. It's a matter of some have a B post and some don't. Some have a window in the back, in the side, some don't. Otherwise, they look exactly the same. And that's what's wrong with the sport today. There's no individuality. You're not allowed to think outside the box anymore. You're not allowed to do those things. As far as I'm concerned, as long as it's not a safety issue, go for it. Use it. Make it happen. You don't want to see anybody get hurt in a race car. You want to make changes based on safety. You don't want to keep changing the way these Sprint Cup Series cars, they drive themselves. Put the pedal to the floor and hold on. You can't drive them anymore. You know, and I'm thinking that anybody who's raced any type of thing could get in a Sprint Cup Series car. Once they get used to the speed, they could go. They could go. See, now you got to come with 20, 30 million. It's becoming a rich kid's sport. That's what Indy racing was. It was for the rich guys, the real rich guys. And racing the NASCAR levels, even at the higher series, were from backwoods working men who just wanted something to do on the weekends. Yeah, the old moonshining days. Yeah, that's how a lot of them got in the beginning. They're racing through the foothills of the Carolinas, trying to outrun the revenuers and the sheriffs. And that old story, well, then they all got together and wanted to go racing. They were racing back in the gladiator days and in the Roman era with chariots. Moonshiners didn't start racing. Or as Richard Petty would say, racing started when the second car rolled off the assembly line. That's when racing started, because they raced to the spot. An old wise tale that he said. But when you look at that, man, oh man, like 22 figure eight says, the racers always outthought the rules. Well, not always. That's why they're cookie cutter today. Like Bobby Lane said to me, a figure eight champion here in Long Island, said, there's that page, this page here, this page has, you see 24 rules, I see 48, because he read between the lines. And that's how it was in those days. But now, God forbid, it's a quarter of an inch off. Especially on a quarter-mile racetrack on a modified, does it really matter what the spoiler height is, 8 inches or 8 1/8? But no, they'll make them take that 1/8 inch off. Does it really matter if the wheel well is, 22 inches or 21 3/4 on a short track? I don't think so. Do you need to worry about that at New Hampshire? Yeah. Maybe even Bristol. But not at Monadnock, not at Riverhead. Not at Seekonk, not races like that for the modifieds. I did 22 figure and we got about a minute or two left. I'm going to quickly tell that story. Bill Bryce III is the head guy, and Walter Bonzik is the head technical official. Mid-season, they changed the clutch rule. Mid-season, I just bought a quartermaster. It cost me $700 or $650. And I'm looking at the rule, and it said every car, addendum, effective this day, every car must be equipped with a stock clutch, press plate flywheel weighing 32.5 pounds. The lights go off. I have a 25-pound weight on the left chassis rail, right by the firewall. The headers run past it. I unbolted that weight, took the stock clutch, press plate flywheel, mounted it right there. All of a sudden, I finished 11th, which was a pretty good finish for me. I was 22 figure eight, will probably attest to. And I got to go to tech because they didn't like I was coming off the corners too fast with a stock clutch. So I don't know how to, I'm not a mechanic, so I get my guy to take it. He's get rags and stuff. And because the stock clutch went right past the headers, he went through the motions that he was taking everything, the drive shaft, all kinds of stuff. And he hands him the stock clutch, and it's hot. I says, you see what you want to see? Oh, yeah, we thought you still had the quartermaster. Of course, the rules said it didn't say it had to be functioning. It just said you had to have one. I had one. And I finished the season with that. In fact, when I sold the car, that guy used it too. Oh, yeah. But anyway, we're gonna wrap up here. So I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. And this upcoming Monday night is Memorial Day. We will not have a show. I want everybody to spend some time with their family and friends. And remember the people that are no longer with us, that fought in all our wars. And I want to take this opportunity to thank my grandfather, John Kraft, who fought, he was in World War II, active duty. And I miss him. And we think about them every day, but Memorial Day, think about your loved ones that fought in these wars. Go back and think about that. And before you pop that beer or that bottle of wine and cook that burger or have that lobster, think about those things. And we won't have a show. Enjoy your families. Wherever your endeavors bring you this weekend, please be safe. Please be careful. Give somebody a hug. Tell them you love them. God bless you all, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.